Man, I think from my end, right, once we know what needs to be collected, the next step is the collection process, right? And knowing or having in place a policy of how that data is going to be collected really helps. And then, a lot of places that, routinely engage in litigation, not saying they're bad businesses or whatever, but, you know, sometimes you got to defend a patent. Sometimes it's just your third time at the rodeo, so you know what you're in for.
Hmm.
Um, they have those policies in place that, we run M365, we will run self collections, and we will hand that off. That way, we don't open holes in our network. We don't create accounts for people we don't really know, um, et cetera, right? And then other times, some jurisdictions don't permit self collection, right? Sometimes, if you're investigating someone in an IT department, triggering the self collection chain is isn't great. So, like, it may tip your hand. So you may, even though, so you need a policy in place also for third party vendors. I would say you may never use it. It may not survive first contact with whatever systems have to be collected. But knowing that, whatever your real, if your policy is only internal self collection, knowing that the possibility exists out in the world that someday you may need a third party vendor, helpful. If you have no policy, having building a policy in place does, because we just talked about the solid state world. Well, the cloud's no different. If the clock is ticking on data, um, you can't necessarily get that back. So if you don't have those policies in place, it takes time to build them. It takes time to figure out what's realistic, or what you even can do with your systems, or should do, or want to do. And that can slow down collections, which slows down analysis, which slows down results. Um, and the clock is always ticking in any matter where there's litigation or pending litigation, I would say. So have your policies in place, or at least know that those need to exist on paper somewhere, and be aware of what you're willing to accept in advance on both fronts.